Hey guys, it's Meg and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I'm going to be creating my 2022 bullet journal cover page, and I've also just unboxed my brand new journal ready for the new year. It's from Yop and Tom, and there is an affiliate link down below that will give you 10% off if you'd like to get yourself one. And let's just get going. I love that these journals come with a grid guide. It's so useful for setting up new spreads and stuff. I'll fill all this in later. Comes with a key as well. And an index page because the pages are numbered, which is really, really useful. And here we are, the first page. Let's just hook the elastic around the back. I always like to put little page clips in the corners just to make sure the pages lay nice and flat whilst I'm working on them. And with any new journal, you just want to make sure you break the spine so it will lay nice and flat as well. So first things first is you need to find the centre of the page. Luckily this journal comes with a little marker to show you exactly where the middle is. I'm just going to sketch in a line, and then I'm just going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and draw a quick line across the top, and the same down below. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going with a pretty minimalistic cover for this journal. It's actually the same as what I've created previously in a custom journal that I did for someone for 2022, and I just really loved the design and I want to use something similar for mine. So we need to also find the middle, which again is marked out already for me, luckily. And because it's 2022, I'm putting the numbers in here in nice bold lettering. I need to mark out 4 sections, 1 for each number. I'm not going to press too hard because it makes it difficult to rub out afterwards, but hopefully you can see the very basic blocks there that I've got for each number. And now I'm just going to start sketching in the numbers. So I just do the very basic outline first, and then I will overline them and make them look good and equal. There might be a little bit of back and forth just whilst you get the size and shape and placement correct, but it will look good when it's finished. The 0 is actually the hardest one to do, I find, just because with any rounded shape it's kind of hard to get it symmetrical. But the way I like to do it is to make a little marker at the top and bottom fairly centrally, and then just try and make it as equal as I can on both sides to connect the two. And you end up with a fairly decent oval shape, but when it's all coloured in you don't really notice if there's anything a little bit out of place. It also might seem a little obvious, but make sure you use the dots to help you line things up and make it even. I think people sometimes forget that the dots are there and can be really useful. So for example, you might be able to tell that these two currently don't look quite the same. So if we look over here, the tip of the 2 comes down to this row of dots. So I need to make sure this one does the same. And it just helps you build a more even shape. It's never going to be exactly the same because doing it by hand never will be, but it definitely helps you get a little bit closer to having them all identical. So for the next 2, I'll make sure I go down to this row. Sorry, there was some noise in the background, so I had to pause. Can't quite remember what I was saying, but let's carry on. Finish off the last 2. In all of the 2s that I've done, you can see that they kind of go up around about 1 square and then kind of halfway through the next one and over that dot in the middle. So that one's gone up a little wider than the other one over the middle, and that should be about right. And that one's pretty good. And then just neaten up these edges, and when I go over the top in pen, that should be better because then I can just make sure I even it all out. And there we've got our very, very basic numbers blocked in. I'm then also going to have a hello at the top. So I'm going to leave 1, 2, 3, 4 gaps, 4 squares. I never really know what to call them, but I kind of call these squares or gaps or blocks, just the little squares between the dots. So that's what I'm talking about. I'll also make a little marker to remind myself where the middle will be. And then I'm just going to do some of the nice bouncy hand lettering. I do have a tutorial if you want to find out how I do this one. But yeah, I'll just freehand this and hope it gets it in the right kind of place. So I want the L in the middle, just like that. So it is nice and even. Okay, so time to go over the top in pen. This is the pen I'm going to be using. Again, it will be linked down below. This is the 0.3 because I want one that's fairly small because I'm going to make little highlights in the numbers, which you will see when I get to that bit. So as I go over the top in pen, I'm just checking with all the other numbers because as you can see, there's a few sketchy marks, so I need to pick the one that is the best for me to use. I am not going to use a ruler just because I don't need it to be perfect. But if you would like to take the time, then feel free to use a ruler on this bit. Obviously not on the curves, but on that little bit there you might want to. I will use it for the longer ones just because when that is not straight, it will be really obvious. And then I will join up the straight lines to the other edges. So the 0 is definitely the hardest one to do, but just give it your best shot. And then try to match it on the other side. But it is almost impossible. So as you can see, this side of the 0 is a little bit wider than this side, but because I will be going over the top in black pen, I'll be colouring it in. I might try and even that out a little more when I start to colour it in, but for now I don't really care. So on to the next two. So that is the basic outline done. As you can see, there are a few little bits where it's not gone quite right. Here it was a little bit wonky, here it's gone a little bit thinner than it should have. So I'm just going to go over the top because these will be coloured in black, so hopefully that won't matter. And this side I am going to thicken up just a tiny little bit. And like I said, it will be coloured in black. So although it looks a little bit messy now, hopefully it won't be an issue once it's coloured in. I'm then going to go in and draw the little highlight sections. So these are going to be on the left-hand sides of any of the curves. Hope that makes sense. Again, this isn't the easiest thing to do and get it all straight and perfect, but because I'll be colouring in black, it should be okay once all the colour's added. if you had a really good white gel pen, then it would probably be easier just to colour all the numbers in black and then add the highlights with the white gel pen. I do have a white pen, but it's not particularly great once you've put it onto a darker colour. It doesn't show up like a clean white. So this is easier, and then I can just do any touching up with that pen if need be. But if you do have a decent white gel pen, then that would definitely be easier. It's also a little bit trickier when you get to the very edge of the book, just because you don't have anywhere to rest your hand, but get there in the end. Okay, this bit of the 2 is really annoying me, but I'm going to get over it. So, let's move on to the hello lettering. I think I might use a slightly thicker pen, so that was the 0.3. This is the set that I've got. I'm going to use the 0.5 because although it's still going to be nice and thin, I just wanted it to stand out a tiny bit more. So I'm going to make sure anywhere that I want to make a little bit bigger, then I can do that, like any of the loops. But I still recommend doing it in pencil, even if you completely change the way you do it once you go over the top in pen. I primarily use it for spacing out the letters to make sure they're quite even. But yeah, that's that. I'm pretty happy with that. And now it's time to colour it in. So I've got the Crayola Super Tips. Again, like I said, I'll just be going over the top in black, so it's in black and white. Actually, before we start, make sure we rub out the pencil underneath first. So those fine liners that I've got, they're really useful because they don't smudge. They dry really quickly. But the Super Tips, I'm not sure whether they will smudge or not, so I think it is best to do the rubbing out first before you go over the top in colour. Okay, now let's colour it in. So if you were doing this design in your journal, then of course you can do it in any colour that you like. I just really quite like having the black and white. It's a nice change because all of my spreads are always very colourful, so I thought starting off with something a bit more minimalist would just be nice. And it's also really striking when you open the book, so. The Super Tips are really good because they do have a thinner tip at the end and then wider on the side, so when you need to colour you can still colour in pretty quickly, but equally you can do the thinner lines as well. But I do have a fine tip pen on standby, which I might use at the end just to neaten up any edges. Anyway, I will just speed you through this colouring and see you in a sec. So that is the colour all done. Now I'm just going to add some stars into the background. I've swapped over to the 0.05, the smallest pen I've got in the set, and I'm also just going to use that to neaten up any little edges that aren't quite perfect. But this is also much easier because I've done it in black. If you were doing it in a different colour you might struggle, but I think the black looks really nice when it's all complete. You might have noticed that I shortened the highlights on the sides of the 2, and that is just because I slipped with the pen and coloured in the top bit, so I then evened up all the others to match. But it's kind of the beauty of it. If you make any mistakes and stuff, you can make it work. So now I'm just going to go ahead and draw in a few little stars into the background. I'm going to do a mixture of standard stars, the 5-sided stars, and these kind of stars, the more diamond type stars, and I'll just do a mixture of those and a few circles as well in the background. And there you have it, a 2022 bullet journal cover page complete. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial draw with me kind of video, If you did, please like, comment, subscribe and hit the notification bell. My next video will hopefully be up on Thursday, and that will be a goals and vision board page ready for 2022. But thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.